Charting Toward Intimacy covers mature topics. Listener discretion is advised.
What do you do when sex gets completely derailed by a foot cramp, a knock at the door, or your brain just totally bailing on the mood? In this episode, we are diving into the next level mindset work that it takes to get back into it on purpose. You're going to learn how to manage those intrusive thoughts, refocus your desire, and re-engage with your spouse even after interruptions. Welcome to Charting Toward Intimacy, the podcast for Catholic women that helps you improve your sex life, strengthen your marriage, and embrace God's design for love. My name is Ellen Holloway, and let's get started.
So what happens when sex gets derailed? When some kind of an interruption happens and you were like getting in the mood, things were working, things were going in the right direction, and then somebody walks in the door. A dog jumps on your bed. Your foot cramps. Like something happens. Maybe you have to go to the bathroom. Like something happens that just derails sex. How do we get back into it? And this, you guys, this is like leveling up your intimacy, leveling up your ability to manage your mind, leveling up your desire to unite with your spouse. Like this is not easy mode. What I'm going to talk to you about in this episode. This is like, if you're like, yep, I want to take it to the next level. I want to put my marriage in the number one spot. I want this to matter more than anything else. And I'm willing to put my husband in front of myself. And I'm willing to put my marriage in front of myself. And I want to make this great for both of us, right? But like in this situation, you have to put yourself like secondary because it's not about you. It's about your husband, because that's what we're doing when we're coming together in sex, is that we are giving of ourselves fully to our spouse. And so, and again, I'm probably going to get some flack for this, but I'm going to speak very freely here. When sex gets derailed, it's actually incredibly selfish of us as women to be like, nope, I just can't get back in the mood. Because that's saying, ultimately, that I don't care enough to do the hard work, the very hard work, to get back in the mood and to make this happen. Now, sometimes you actually don't care enough to do the hard work, and that is okay. It's important to communicate that, but it is okay to say, this is actually too hard right now, and I don't care enough to do the hard work, but that is ultimately what it is. It's not the fault of the dog that jumped on the bed, the foot cramp, the having to go to the bathroom, the kid that walked in. It's not their fault. You have the opportunity to make a decision. And your decision is either I'm going to choose to do the hard thing right now and get myself back into the moment and, manage my mind through this and all of the thoughts that are going on in my head. And we're going to get back into it. Or you're going to choose to say it's going to be too hard to do that. And I am choosing to not get back in the mood. It has, in so many ways, very little to do with the interruption. Because the interruption is just a circumstance that happened. But you are the one that controls your own body. You're the one that controls your own mind. And when that interruption happens, you have a whole bunch of thoughts flooding. And probably some of the main thoughts that are flooding through your mind is, I can't get back in the mood. This interruption ruined the mood. Just like things like that, like very declarative statements that are saying it's not possible to get back in the mood. But it is. It is, and I know that from personal experience. And I also know from personal experience that it is incredibly hard, which is why I started this episode by saying this is the next level. This is when you want to level up and make your marriage your top priority below God. When you want to put your husband first, when you want to put your marriage and your unity and your intimacy first. That's what this is. Okay? So, what are we going to do? The interruption happens, whatever that interruption is, right? The power goes out. Somebody farts, like whatever the interruption is that like throws you off. This moment right here, you go to battle with your mind. You have to like literally, well, figuratively, I'm sorry. You have to figuratively roll up your sleeves. And if it helps, like imagine a scene where you are going to fight your brain, because your brain is going to do everything in its power to derail this situation and try to put blame on the circumstance that happened. It's going to try to put blame on the 4-year-old who walked in. It's going to put blame on the dog that jumped on the bed. It wants to blame everybody, but you can take ownership of this because it's not the circumstance that derailed sex. It is your thoughts about the circumstance that have derailed sex at this point. And so you are going to take ownership of your thoughts and you're going to say, okay, no more. So you're going to roll up your sleeves and you're going to tell your brain, stop. This is not what we're doing right now. We are not going to blame something else. We are not going to let this session derail. We are going to have sex. We are going to enjoy it. And you have to be pretty forceful with your brain and tell it, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to feel. We're going to enjoy it. And then once you have laid out the ground rules for your brain, you're going to do two things at the same time. You're going to put yourself back into the present moment. And so things that are helpful for getting yourself back into the present moment and out of your brain. So you've laid all the ground rules for your brain. Now it's time to get out of your brain and back into the present moment. You can ask your husband to start talking to you. So you can ask him to, tell you where he's touching you or how he's touching you. You can ask if you guys can tell a story together, or just start talking, telling sweet nothings, pillow talk kind of a thing. Like that brings you into the present moment. Just really like thinking through what he is doing, right? So like having an internal monologue of, my husband is running his hand down my thigh. Now he's touching my knee. Now he's touching my foot. Like really being aware of like where he's touching you and like having that internal monologue of what is going on in the moment. Those are the kinds of things that can bring you back into the present moment. And so I said you were going to do two things at once. So you're going to get yourself back into the present moment. And then you are going to be very aware of any time your brain tries to pull you out of the present moment. And you're going to tell it, you're going to remind it of the rules that you laid out, 30 seconds ago, a minute ago. You're going to say, no, we're not going there. We're not going to start thinking about how frustrated we are that stupid dog keeps jumping on the bed when we're trying to have sex. I don't actually have a dog. I just made up this entire situation of a dog, right? But you need to tell your brain, and you got to be pretty, I think in some ways you kind of have to be harsh with your brain and say, no, we are not doing that. We are not letting thoughts about the 4-year-old that walked in, and then the further thoughts that go from that, and the fact, the thought about not locking the door, or the thought about the fact that we don't have a lock on our bedroom door and maybe we should get one of those. All of those thoughts you have full control over, and all of those thoughts are trying to derail you away from sex. You are able to control those thoughts, and you can tell those thoughts, no, not right now. That's not what we're doing. And you're going to put yourself back into the present moment. And you're going to remind yourself while you're in the present moment, I like this. I want to enjoy sex. I want to experience pleasure. I'm looking forward to experiencing pleasure. Like you're going to tell yourself, lots of positive things. You're going to let those thoughts roll. Those can be really helpful when your brain starts to try to put thoughts in your head that are going to derail you, is say, nope, not that, and then immediately think a more positive thought. So here's what you're going to do right now, because I'm pretty sure you're not listening to this and like sex was just derailed. Like that's going to happen again at some point in the future. So what you're going to do right now is I want you to jot down those positive thoughts that you are going to combat all of the derailing thoughts with. So I want to be here. I want to have sex. I'm excited to feel pleasure. I'm looking forward to this orgasm. I love my husband. Like those thoughts. I want you to just like brainstorm a good list. I mean, like 10 would be awesome. And just like read through those, get really familiar with those thoughts so that you have those thoughts at the ready next time that sex gets derailed. And you already know, okay, I'm going to tell my brain, nope, we're not doing this. We're not having those thoughts right now. We can have them later. You can think all those thoughts about the bedroom door not being locked and the bed jumping or the dog jumping on the bed. You can have all those thoughts later. It's totally fine. Like you could just tell your brain, like, give me 15 minutes. Give me 20 minutes. I'll think about those later. And then you're going to have those positive thoughts, and they're going to be familiar because you took the time right now to jot them down. And then after you've jot them down, if you have some more time, or if you want to like better prepare yourself for the next time that sex tries to get derailed, I want you to like think of ways, maybe think of ways that have happened in the past or possibilities that can happen in the future of like ways that in the past sex got derailed or things that could happen. And once we get that list, again, if we're like familiar with these situations, we can start to think about, okay, what is it that derailed it, right? The dog jumped on the bed. What was I thinking that derailed it, right? Did I start getting so frustrated with the dog and just annoyed that we don't have a dog cage? And, what were those thoughts? And so if you can think them now, then you can work on how to combat them, right? So again, it is more familiar once you're in that moment. All right. So just to close this out, I want to remind you that this is hard. And you're probably not going to get it the first couple of times that you try. So I don't want you to get frustrated with yourself if you tried really hard not to derail sex and it still got derailed. I want you to like recognize that you are teaching yourself how to not let frustrating circumstances actually frustrate you. Because the circumstance isn't frustrating. It's actually your thoughts about the circumstance. Circumstance is neutral. The circumstance happens. The dog jumps on the bed. Your thoughts about the dog jumping on the bed are what are frustrating you about it. Your thoughts about the 4-year-old walking in are what are frustrating you about it, right? So, like, give yourself time to practice this. And this is why, like, do this work ahead of time, because then you'll be more prepared to do it in the moment. But then I just also really want to encourage you that this is possible. And you are the one that has all of the power in this situation to not let sex get derailed. It is absolutely within your power, and it is up to you. Like, it is how you manage what your thoughts are that allow you to not let sex get derailed. You can do it. I believe in you.
Thanks so much for listening. If you're ready to stop feeling confused or discouraged about sex and finally understand how God designed your body for real, beautiful pleasure, you need to check out the Orgasm Course for Catholic Women. I'll teach you the tools and the mindset you need to experience the intimacy you were made for, all deeply rooted in Catholic Church teaching. Head over to vinesandfullbloom.com/orgasm, and I'll see you inside.